The Bull and the Matador is one of my favorite style matchups in boxing, period. It is such an amazing clash of styles where you have the tenacious, strong, fast, angry Bull, BENAVIDEZ, against the more flamboyant, elegant, brash, flashy Caleb Plant. It only makes for an absolutely intriguing fight coming this Saturday in Las Vegas. This video is going to be about that fight breakdown with a little artistic twist, talking about these two fighters in the same breath as a bull and a matador. Let's go.
Sweet hands, Caleb.
Boxing.
Knowledge. It's showtime!
Alright, welcome back to the channel. I hope everyone is doing well today. Big up all the subscribers. Shout out to anybody new. Thank you for tuning in. It means a lot. I really appreciate it. In this video, we're going to be talking about David Benavidez versus Caleb Plant. The Bull and the Matador, one of my favorite style matchups. Obviously, Cotto Margarito 1 springs to mind. I just watched that fight again. Cotto wasn't your traditional matador in his whole career, but he had to be in that fight. There's a lot of similarities with that fight as there is with this fight. We're going to be talking about all of that. I'm going to leave timestamps, so if you want to just skip to the fight breakdown, no problem. It should be all on the bottom here on the screen, so have at it. But before we do that, let's get into the tail of the tape and see how these two match up. So as you can see, Caleb Plant, 4-year age, you could say advantage or disadvantage at this point, but they both have a lot of experience in the pro game. So yeah, I think Plant has the more experience, obviously at bigger fights. You know, he could be having that with the age. He's 1 inch taller in height. Now, this I'll get into a bit later on, because this plays a big part, because Manny Stewart spoke about this in the Cotto Margarito fight, where fighting a taller fighter can be a lot more troublesome. And I'll explain my side of that as well. But there's a 1 inch disparity in height. Obviously the fight is at 168 pounds. The reach is very similar, and then obviously the big difference is the KO department, obviously in favor of David Benavidez. So let's start with David Benavidez, okay? The Bull, El Bandera Roja, which means red flag, which obviously matadors have, interestingly enough, although he has just changed his name courtesy of Mike Tyson to the Mexican Monster, which is a very fitting name. Listen, David Benavidez is a savage man, okay? This is an absolutely brutal fight for Caleb Plant. Benavidez is one of the tougher dudes in boxing. His dad obviously has raised two extremely tough young men. Benavidez, a former world champion, obviously. He was the youngest champion at 20 years old. 20 years old. Can you imagine being 20, being a world champion? And he came from obviously losing all that weight and just being amazing, really. He's a very, very, very talented young man, and he's got so many weapons and skills that like, I've been watching a lot more of him, and I'm like, wow, this guy is a problem. Like a bull, tenacious, very fast, powerful, fearless, and he can get very aggressive and almost to the point of like a sadistic, you know. He's got this crazy look in his eyes when he gets punched, and he doesn't get hurt very often. He's got a fabulous chin. He has been obviously dropped by Robert Gavril in the first fight. He tends to go a little bit off balance and has a little bit of an upright stature to him, which will be a factor possibly in the fight breakdown, as I'll get into later. But wow, Benavidez, I mean, he's angry and he's ready, and he's ready to put a hurting on Caleb Plant big time. I think we know that. That's one of the reasons why this fight is so great, because there's so much animosity, and it's funny how it will play into the fight. Will he come charging out the gates and try to live up to what he said to take Caleb Plant out within 6 rounds? Makes for an intriguing fight. Speaking of Caleb Plant, the Matador, you know, the elegant, the flashy, the skill. You know, he's got more experience now at the big stage, and his temperament has been a little different, and perhaps he's learned and been humbled by his over-the-topness, you might say, in the Canelo press conference, or brashness, and he's taken a step back, and he's obviously got a brand new trainer who I think is amazing, Breadman. I've made a video about him. If you want to learn more about him, I'll leave the link here. And I think that could be a difference. More of that in the fight breakdown. But you have, you know, matadors are there to really to please the crowd in terms of how much danger they're going to get into when they're facing a real bull. Okay, the more they get risky with, you know, the moves that they make, and the more they entice the bull, the closer they get to the horns, the more that it oohs and ahs the crowds. Caleb Plant's going to have to fight this guy. Okay, he can't prance around for 12 rounds in there. Not a chance. There's no way. I thought he might at first, but he's going to have to do some matador skills for sure, but he's going to have to put it on Benavidez and fight this guy and try and hurt him, I think. And, you know, that's what makes it so intriguing for me. There's so many elements in this fight. It's just going to be a really good fight. You know, at first I thought it could be a bit dull because Plant should be able to outbox him and just maybe get into a bit of trouble later, but I've changed my opinion quite a bit. And after listening to so many interviews too, and also Breadman, his trainer, has alluded to him having to really go to a place he hasn't been to and fight this guy, and, you know, like really let it hang out. And it's a brutal fight. That's the one person in the division you might not really want to do that with, is Benavidez, but he's going to have to because the fight's coming this Saturday. So amazing stuff. And like the Bull and the Matador, obviously, look, it's a long history, a long tradition. It's been going on for thousands of years. Boxing has been going on for several centuries, and there's this element from the crowd that want to see violence and blood. And it's just the human nature human nature of people, you know, that we show to see up violence and a knockout, but they also want to see skill and elegance. And that's what you're going to see in this fight, because it's just a remarkable matchup. So without further ado, let's get into the fight breakdown, because this is going to be a big one. So fight breakdown, like, I think Benavidez is going to come out obviously on the front foot and try to be angry straight away and try to hurt Plant. He really is. He's wound up. He's pissed off. There's been a lot of bad blood, as I said. There's been a lot of back and forth. These guys really don't like each other, okay? And, you know, Benavidez, from gauging from his energy, what he said, his training clips, how he is as a fighter in general, he doesn't mess about. He's going to put Plant on the back foot immediately. And, you know, he looking to throw bombs. Well, eventually, when he gets his man in the corner and he gets him on the ropes and he gets an opportunity to let his blistering hand speed go, and that's one of the things that, like, is amazing about Benavidez, is how big and strong and powerful he is, but how fast he is and how eloquent he can be with his punches. You know, his punch variation is remarkable. It's remarkable. He can throw punches from all angles. He's got an awesome left hook to the body. He's got just an array. His uppercuts are amazing. It's like going to be a hard night's work keeping this dude off him. And Benavidez on top of that, you know, like, I love it when he walks. He'll just walk straight down and just shoot these straight right hands out of nowhere. Plant's been caught with those before by Oscar Taggy. He's got to watch out for those. Back to what I was saying about a taller man, and Emmanuel Stewart mentioned this. I'll pull the clip up now.
Margarita is really putting a lot of pressure on him, unlike any he's ever had. And pressure from a taller fighter is different than from a shorter fighter.
It just feels like the ring is a lot smaller. And I know Plant's got a big ring in this. I know he's got a really big ring, and he needs that, but there's the wingspan of Benavidez, and it's just the sheer size of this guy. You know, it's going to make it feel like there's a bigger man in there, and that's going to put a lot more psychological pressure on Plant. Okay, it has to, especially when you have this angry guy charging you down, you know, walking you down. Benavidez is going to look to just, he's pretty good at cutting the ring off. Sometimes he's not, but sometimes he's actually all right because he is so big and strong. I think that's part of the why it is he can cut the ring off, because Tyrone Davis mentioned that he was very good at cutting the ring off post fight, and you know, he's a shorter middleweight actually, really, with better footwork, but he was just methodically cutting the ring down, but because he does it so consistently, like Margarito did against Cotto. If you watch how quickly he got to Cotto, second round they were, you know, he was catching up to him, just kind of methodically stepping over and just closing the distance, and you know, shooting those offbeat right hands with the jabs. And then when he can get his, but he doesn't really put his punches together like that. You know, he has to be there for you, which is why Plant has to keep it moving to some point, except for the fact when he has to really try and hurt him. And now with Plant, like, he was doing a lot of moving against Canelo, okay, far too much moving, if you ask me, because it was just inevitable. And he did well, but he was never really going to win that fight, because he was always, energy bar was always going to go down, and the snap of his punches was always going to go down, and then eventually, you know, they would meet up and Canelo would close the distance. And when it comes to infighting like that, I mean, there's only going to be one winner, and it's the same with Benavidez. I mean, you don't want to get close to this guy. Plant's going to have to turn him, use his jab, use his skill, his feints. One thing I think Plant should absolutely do when you have a guy that comes square on sometimes with his high guard up like that, okay, jab the high guard and shoot. I want to see that right hand to Benavidez's belly, not to his head, because Benavidez, and this for me is what makes it so great, because Benavidez can counterpunch. He's a really good counterpuncher, and he counterpunched David Lemieux, who is a tremendous puncher. He took a punch on his chin, caught him with a left hook after taking a punch on the chin. And Plant's right hand for me is he doesn't believe in it as much for me. You know, he doesn't commit to it as much. And you know, that's the safety first thing, I get that, but like, I think it's more safe if you shoot for the tummy, okay? And I'll show some clips where fighters have had success in the past at you know, hitting Benavidez's tummy, and there is a lot of space down there because he is so tall and he stands so tall up, and he has a high guard like this, jab to the head, duck down, boom. It's important to duck down so you miss that left hook, or he might not want to counter because you're not quite there. But I think Plant should avoid the 1-2s to the head. He's got a tremendous lead hand, but it was almost, in Canelo, it was almost like a little bit ineffective because he was constantly moving, and he didn't really believe in it as much. And I think he was a little worried about Canelo's pull counters, which he didn't do as much, but they are there, obviously. Just ask Billy Joe. Tremendous pull counter Canelo is, and you know, he did it with Kovalev too. But Benavidez can do that as well, which it just makes you think, well, how can Plant beat this guy? He should be able to outbox him in the early rounds, no doubt about it. When his punches are crisp, his energy bar is high, he's flashing those shots, he's feeling himself, you know, and he's being the Matador, you know, and the Bull is being tamed a little bit. And like I said, he's gonna have to turn him, and he's gonna have to keep moving. But I think at some point, especially early in the first 4 to 6 rounds, I think at some point he's going to have to make a commitment to sit down on a couple of shots. And if that right hand to the belly is there, come back with a left hook to the head. His left hook, Caleb Plant's, is his best punch. We know that. He's dropped to Skatagi with it when he sits down on it. He's obviously knocked out Darrell with it. He really sat down on it. I think if he's going to hurt Benavidez or have a chance to just get him off him for a little bit, he's got to land that left hook. No question about that. How does he land the left hook, though? Well, you know, like I said, there's got to be a commitment factor where he's got to understand and bite down on his gum shield. But I would like to see him do it earlier than later, because later, you know, you got more of a chance, I think, earlier. Maybe in the middle rounds, but it depends. His energy bar is going to go down. Benavidez is going to close the distance, and that slow, systematic pressure, and he hurts his opponents in every single fight. He's knocked out almost all of his opponents. He's hurt them all. I think he's only gone 12 with the Gabriel, I believe. I'll double check that, but like, he's a savage dude. He's really hard to hurt, and like I said, psychologically, a bigger man walking you down and beating on you is a different situation. It really is. And BENAVIDEZ can counterpunch. He can take a punch. You know, he's got a beautiful variation. I've said all this. I mean, it's just, after watching BENAVIDEZ, he's a big guy. Look at the size of his feet and his wingspan and his it just looks bigger because he's so tall. His frame is bigger. So he fights tall, and Plant fights a little shorter, so the height disparity is going to be a lot different. And I think Plant is going to have to work really hard to keep this guy honest a little bit. And yeah, he's going to skirt through the first 6 rounds, and I think Plant should be up on the scorecards for sure. But I think most boxing fans are probably going to go with the BENAVIDEZ stoppage. And when I first made a video about this, I was picking Plant because I was like, oh man, he's going to outbox him, maneuver. The footwork, Plant's footwork is going to be a big difference. The speed of his footwork is tremendous, as it is with Matadors and Bulls when they're in the close range. You know, they've got the more shifty footwork, and that's going to be a big factor for Plant, you know. But he's gonna slowly get touched up, and his energy bar is gonna go down. I think BENAVIDEZ is gonna get to him in, well, rounds 8 to 10. I think it's gonna be a TKO, maybe even a corner stoppage. I think Plant's not gonna make it to the final bell, and I think David BENAVIDEZ is gonna get the victory in an absolutely sensational fight. We could have a marvelous fight here if Plant chooses to really fight this dude, and I think he's gonna have to. And that's another reason why I'm picking BENAVIDEZ, because, like, you know, Plant's tough. He's looking in absolutely fabulous shape, by the way. My gosh, he looks strong. He looks great, and and I think personally, if Plant's going to win this, it isn't going to be on points. I think he's going to have to stop BENAVIDEZ. Can he do that? Obviously, most people would think, man, you're crazy to saying that. I think he's got an opportunity to hurt him. If he lands one of those clean hooks that he landed on Darrell, where he really sat down on it and put his whole shoulder through it, and BENAVIDEZ is standing upright, and maybe he does that weird thing where he shuffles from southpaw to orthodox, and he's coming in and he clips him on the jaw, I think he can hurt him. I really do. I don't think he will. I'm just saying I think he can, and I think that's his opportunity, Plant's. But I don't think Plant's going to make it to the final bell. And I think BENAVIDEZ is going to be too much. He's got too much punch variation. He's too tough. His chin is too strong, and he's too motivated. He's just a hard dude. He's a hard dude, and it'll be like Margarito 1, you know, for me. Bull and the Matador at its finest. We're going to see some beautiful boxing from Plant. We're going to see some beautiful attacking. We're going to see some beautiful Matador display, some turning, some jabbing, IQ, but we're also going to see a savage Bull go to work and dismantle a very skilled Matador. And hopefully these guys can, you know, at least have a healthy respect for each other after the fight. I know there's a lot of talks about that not happening. That'd be a shame. At the end of the day, we want these guys to come out healthy and live to fight another day and put on a great show for us. And I just want to touch on the Bull and the Matador really quickly, just a poignant little message, because sadly the Bull, in that it's a very controversial sport. I get that, or art sport. There's a lot of ritual and history that I don't really understand or don't choose. But the Bull does get slaughtered at the end of it and shanked to death. It's quite sad, because it's not like the Bull chose to be there. So I'm not gonna be any animal rights activist or anything like that. I did find that a little sad, because the Bull doesn't really have a chance, you know what I mean? But barring that, I hope these guys come out healthy, and I hope they have put on a great performance for us. Make sure you pay for that pay-per-view, all right? We got to support these guys, because the reason some of these guys don't want to get in the ring is because of all the pay-per-view streaming. Now, we have to support the fights that are worth it. I think that's where I stand on it. I don't want to go on about it anymore. But if you enjoyed the video, man, hit the like button. I've got so many videos coming like this where I just try to do an artistic twist. I can't just do a normal video. It's just not in my heart, you know. But and if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment and let me know your thoughts on this. Do you think Plant has got a chance? I know he's a big underdog, but you know, when I first saw this, like I said, I had Plant winning, but I was like, I just can't. He's got BENAVIDEZ has got too much. He's got too much. He's gonna have to fight in it. I don't think Plant has really got that, you know. You know what I mean? But that's it from me, Boxing on the Edge. I hope you enjoyed the video. Peace and love. I'm out of here, man. Have a great week.
Boxing
on the edge.